A massive white figure appears, signaling the start of the hunt. The polar bear moves forward with weight, resilience, and the commanding presence of an Arctic ruler. Each advance shifts the balance, forcing the prey off guard while other predators hesitate. There is no room for error in this frozen landscape. In the end, what truly defines dominance, strength, or the ability to wait for the perfect moment? The polar bear is the apex predator of the frozen Arctic and a lasting symbol of the polar wilderness. An adult male can weigh around 1,000 pounds. Its dense, nearly transparent fur provides excellent insulation while helping it blend seamlessly into its icy surroundings. Yet its survival depends heavily on sea ice, which serves as both a resting platform and a hunting ground. As the ice melts earlier and forms later each year, polar bears must travel greater distances, expend more energy, and face an increasing risk of food shortages. On the rocky shores of the Arctic, where ocean meets land, a rare standoff takes shape. A polar bear, an apex predator, faces a group of walruses, each weighing up to 2,500 pounds, with thick skin and tusks that serve as natural weapons. Driven by hunger, it proceeds with caution. The bear moves along the edge of the group, searching for an opening and focusing on a calf. It applies pressure on the mother, attempting to break the formation, but the walrus's tight coordination quickly blocks every approach. Shifting strategy, it targets a younger individual. A powerful advance is met with firm resistance. The walrus uses its weight to push back, forcing the bear to constantly adjust its tactics. As time passes, energy begins to fade. In a final attempt, it approaches from behind, avoiding the dangerous tusks and trying to gain control around the neck. But the walrus responds forcefully, pulling the situation toward the cold water. In a brief moment, the target slips into the sea and escapes. The bear comes to a stop, reminding that in this harsh environment, strength alone is not enough. As seasonal ice begins to break apart, food sources for polar bears become increasingly scarce, making every opportunity more valuable. On an isolated ice floe, a seal rests, an almost perfect target. With a success rate of only around 10%, each hunt becomes a true test. Without rushing, the bear moves along the ice ridges, staying downwind to conceal its presence. Each step is nearly silent, its body blending into the white surroundings. The distance closes gradually, building quiet pressure. Beneath the cold water, the polar bear demonstrates its strong swimming ability, quickly closing in and securing the target before it can slip away. In the harsh polar environment, success does not come from strength alone, but from patience, calculation, and the ability to adapt. Across the tundra, A Svalbard reindeer, small in size but carrying thick, fat reserves after months of grazing, now moves slowly over the cold, damp ground. In the eyes of the polar bear, this is a rare opportunity. It quickly detects the target. The bear suddenly accelerates, releasing a burst of power over a short distance. The reindeer reacts, but the soft terrain and its heavy condition prevent it from maintaining speed for long. Within seconds, the chase reaches its conclusion. The reindeer gradually loses its advantage and is fully overtaken. Summer in Ungava reveals a completely different picture. The ice melts, and with it the familiar seal hunts gradually fade away. The polar bear enters a new challenge, following the paths of migrating salmon. An alternative source of energy, but far from easy to access. Unlike grizzly bears, the keepers of the falls that can stand in rushing water and take advantage of the salmon's leap, the polar bear does not have that advantage. In Ungava, the environment is wider, deeper, and far more unpredictable. Instead of direct confrontation, the bear shifts to a more refined strategy. It watches the rhythm of the tides, waiting for the water to recede, revealing rock pockets and shallow areas where salmon are more likely to gather. When the moment comes, a quick and precise strike is delivered within a narrow range. With limited space to move, the fish have little room to escape, and the hunt ends efficiently. The rich nutrients from the salmon become a valuable reward for the polar bear. Amid the shifting seasons and tides, survival belongs to those who adapt. Like water itself, always finding a way to keep flowing. Not every animal in the Arctic is easy to approach, especially beluga whales, the agile white shadows of the ocean. Despite their high energy value, belugas are rarely within reach of a polar bear. A pursuit in open water is almost never a practical option. Opportunities only appear near openings in the ice, where belugas must surface to breathe. At times, when the ice closes in, a small group may be confined to a narrow space, taking turns reaching the surface. The bear waits at the edge of the ice, patiently observing the rhythm of their breathing and the timing of their appearance. When the moment comes, it channels its strength into a swift downward strike, trying to gain an advantage in a split second. But with their large size and thick layer of fat, belugas are not easily controlled in such tight conditions. Many attempts result only in brief disturbances beneath the surface. In the end, the bear moves on. In the harsh Arctic, opportunities do not always favor the hunter. When the breeding season arrives, survival pressure comes not only from the environment, but also from others of the same kind. A female bear raising cubs often needs 2 to 3 years before she can reproduce again, making this period especially sensitive. For males, reproductive opportunities are closely tied to that cycle. When cubs are no longer present, the female's physiology shifts quickly and she becomes ready for a new cycle. Because of this, encounters between a male and a mother bear always carry significant risk. Fully aware of the threat, the mother becomes highly alert. But as the distance closes, her protective instinct rises to its peak. She positions herself between her cub and the danger, ready to face it and create a chance for the cub to move away. When the male moves in toward the young cub, the mother immediately turns back and responds with full determination. The confrontation becomes tense, not out of recklessness, but as a final defensive strategy to protect the next generation. Faced with such strong resistance, the male eventually withdraws. At the heart of this cycle of survival, maternal instinct stands as one of nature's most enduring strengths. Along coastal cliffs, another food source appears: dense colonies of seabirds nesting in seasonal waves. For the polar bear, this is like a form of fast food, easier to access but not enough to sustain it for long. Eggs and young birds provide a quick source of energy, helping it endure during times of scarcity. The bear moves along the rocky slopes, observing and choosing the safest point of approach. But the steep, slippery terrain makes every step a risk. Unlike the flat sea ice, this environment demands greater caution and consumes more energy. Even so, these small opportunities still play an important role. They are not a long-term solution, but they can help extend survival through the harshest periods. Summer stretches longer than usual, and the mother's milk supply gradually declines with each passing day of movement. For the cubs, every slower step means a greater risk of falling behind in the race for survival. The small family is forced to leave the ice, moving along the coastline in search of any remaining food source. Along a quiet rocky shore, the remains of a whale have washed ashore, a rare source of energy during a time of scarcity. The mother approaches with caution, scanning the surroundings before guiding her cubs closer. This is no longer a pursuit, but an opportunity to make use of what the ocean has left behind. The cubs watch every movement, how she chooses her position, how she approaches, and how she patiently makes use of the food source. It is a lesson in survival. Not every meal must be chased, and sometimes survival depends on recognizing the right opportunity at the right moment. And at times, what is left behind becomes the very chance for life to continue. After each hunt, the polar bear once again affirms its place in the Arctic. Each environment calls for a different approach. In nature, survival does not always belong to the strongest, but to those who recognize the right opportunity at the right time. If you want to follow more intense encounters like these, you can leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Because the wild is always changing, and every moment brings a new story.